Have you ever thought about how much loneliness can transform someone and open the way for dark forces? Before diving into this account, share in the comments if you've witnessed an inexplicable change in someone close to you. How many times has deep grief and isolation given rise to a new and terrifying chapter in a family's life? Subscribe and turn on notifications because this story is a real warning for all of us. David, at 27, always carries the echoes of a story no fiction could do justice to. It was the story of his Aunt Lúcia, a woman of strong temperament and striking presence, whose life took unimaginable turns after a family tragedy. The sudden death of her husband was the trigger for unsettling changes. Lúcia, previously engaged and close to her family, plunged into isolation. She stopped attending church, ignored the phone, and began to associate with a group seemingly out of place in her usual life. Sophisticated women, discreet in their gestures, and always present around her, like guardians of a new secret. The family watched her with concern, interpreting it as a form of grief. They respected her distance, thinking Lúcia would soon find her footing again. What they couldn't foresee was that behind closed doors, the prelude to a nightmare was forming.
Lúcia's progressive withdrawal became symptomatic. She avoided conversations, refused visits, and their gaze acquired an icy detachment. Her daughter, Sofia, then just a child, felt the absence even more brutally. The home, which once exuded warmth, became a cold and unfamiliar place. Lúcia no longer took care of simple daily tasks. Everything was secondary to the void left by her husband's death. It took many frustrated attempts by David's mother and other family members to, on rare occasions, manage to see Sofia. The visits were quick, always under the guidance of Lúcia's new friends. The atmosphere was tense, and any approach was closely watched. Almost a year after her husband's death, Sofia disappeared. The commotion was immediate, but soon muffled by the perplexing lack of clues. Lúcia maintained that she didn't know her daughter's whereabouts, reporting that upon arriving home, she hadn't found her. Family members questioned how she could leave her daughter alone, but encountered logical barriers in her justifications. The police got involved, but nothing indicated invasion, violence, or suspicious activity. The silence was deafening.
Lúcia seemed increasingly distant, emotionless, as if the tragedy of the disappearance merely resigned her. The family, already cut off from contact, only followed the investigations from afar, increasingly demoralized by the absence of answers. 2 months later, amidst hopelessness, an anonymous tip led the police to an isolated property on the outskirts of the city. The place, at first glance, was a common rural setting. However, inside, agents found the specter of horror: human bones scattered in rooms, traces of cruel practices, torture instruments, piles of books and documents detailing the activities of the cult Lúcia had joined. The frantic images, chilling reports, and instant photographs of the ceremonies revealed what had happened. Lúcia, without hesitation, had allowed Sofia to be sacrificed in one of the occult group's rituals. Every step of her daughter's surrender was documented in meticulous records, including photos that evidenced her active presence. The shock was devastating. Blood ties lost all meaning in the face of the stark account of Lúcia's involvement in the tragedy. When the authorities finally called the family, finding Lúcia became an unsettling experience. Her expression was that of someone completely dissociated from reality, with features and a demeanor almost animalistic, a disturbing change, according to David's mother. During her arrest, Lúcia showed no emotion. She answered questions with disconcerting smiles and made ambiguous statements. Initially, she was sent for psychiatric evaluation, but in a short time, her full awareness of all her actions was proven. The evidence was unquestionable. Her calm, even proud demeanor during interrogation further shocked those who had known her from another time. Lúcia was convicted and remains incarcerated to this day. Within the strict confines of the prison system, she has never expressed remorse or sought contact with family members. The family, devastated and defamed, had to rebuild their own history, dealing with the shame and helplessness in the face of the inexplicable. Many believe that the cult's strength lay in finding people in fragile moments, like Lúcia, using promises of comfort and purpose to capture vulnerable minds. Suffering, combined with a sense of abandonment, was fertile ground for atrocities to flourish. The case made headlines and stoked collective fear regarding the dark reach of closed groups that exploit lost hearts and minds. Over time, Lúcia's story became almost a legend in family circles. With each new loss, each withdrawal, the silent concern returned about who is surrounding whom and the importance of never abandoning, even indirectly, someone in suffering. Much from that period remains whispered. Neighbors comment on strange lights on the property. Lúcia's colleagues recall abrupt mood swings and long, unexplained absences. But what truly echoes is the red flag raised for everyone. Cunning groups can still lurk, and no one is immune to manipulation, especially in moments of pain. In David's life, the trauma manifested as extreme caution. He never allowed emotional chasms in his own family. Lúcia's story became a motivation to closely monitor the inner sufferings of those he loved. Similar cases of disappearance or abrupt transformation became, for him, a call to act before the abyss formed. Other relatives retreated into introspection. The few who tried to engage with Lúcia again, even just to get answers, found only an empty gaze and terrifying indifference. The family bond, once the clan's pride, was torn apart by painful silence and a continuation of unanswered questions. Over the years, the story served as a warning in discreet conversations. Many avoided speaking Lúcia's name, fearing to awaken old pains. The fear that others might meet the same fate hung like a shadow over family reunions. Even today, the mention of the cult sends shivers down spines and makes everyone relive the same doubts. Back then, couldn't they have done more? Walking on the rural property, David often felt the invisible presence of the past. The cult's name was never widely disclosed, but the marks of its actions echo among valleys and corridors, on silent nights and in lost gazes. What remained was the need to redouble attention, listen to those who suffer, and never underestimate the risks for those who, without strength, isolate themselves in their own grief. If this story made you think of someone vulnerable, share it to warn more people about the dangers of isolation and involvement with obscure groups. Subscribe to receive other real and dark accounts. Together, we can create a chain of attention and protection for those who need help. Comment if you've witnessed an inexplicable transformation in someone close. Your experience could be the key to saving another life.